Welcome back, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I hope you're having a good day. Today, we're going to start with ship review. Very popular request. You guys have been asking me for a while now to do the ship review on the upcoming rank season 8, 9, 10. I lost count. As you may know, the rank season is, at the time of watching this, in 17 hours on the EU server, which means tomorrow. And it's gonna be until rank 10. From rank 23 till rank 10 is gonna be tier 8. And from rank 10 till rank 1 is gonna... well, sorry, till rank 2, including rank 2, is gonna be tier 10. And then when you hit rank 1, it apparently drops to tier 7. Rank season 9, there we go. So, let's start with destroyers. We have Akizuki, which is the IGN destroyer. Now, this is 5.9 detection, which is not that bad. I won't be going too much in the stats, just to get that straight out of the way. I'm just going to be talking about a couple of important things, like detectability being one of the primary ones. 5.9 is not that bad. Sonic Beat Farm, thank you for the sub and welcome to the team, man. 5.9 is not that bad. Maneuverability is not the greatest thing of this ship. AA defense is, but it does not have the defense of AA. Torpedoes are pretty good, but there's only one launcher. And survivability wise, it's pretty okay. No heal, of course, and artillery 4 double 100mm guns. Now that is a big question here. Do you use the regular ones and have the increased fire chance, maybe with Demo Expert, or do you go IFHE? The problem with the Akizuki is the guns, and very sluggish, very big. These are some of the modules that I'm using, and the consumables. For the exterior, it's not that important really. It's all about what you need. We'll be going through that in detail more later. This is the full AA build, Aki here right now, which I'm not sure I would recommend, to be honest. I would probably recommend you to go like either preventive maintenance or expert loader. I didn't respec all my captains just for this review because that would be far too expensive, so I'm just gonna guide you through some of them. Expert loader, because unlike a lot of other destroyers, Aki really depends on the primary shell type being the proper one. Like, if the enemy gives you the broadside, as any ship, especially DDs, you can really hurt them a lot with APs. So you want maybe this to be ready. If you're not sure that you're gonna find this useful, just go for preventive maintenance. Yes, the new patch has arrived and it made free redistribution, but I'm still not sure in all my captains how I'm gonna be speccing them, and I don't want to waste time doing that right now. I'm just gonna give you a couple of options that you can go for. Last stand is very needed on pretty much any destroyer. And then here's where the things get tricky. I don't think you need superintendent, because you're not going to be using that many speed boosts, and it's very questionable if you're going to have the option to use 4 torpedo reload boosters. Smoke screens are very questionable depending on your position, on your team. Are you pushing? Are you defending? How long the game is going to last? So it can be useful, but it doesn't necessarily need to be. Of course, just use premium consumables so you have 1 charge extra. What I would definitely recommend is more HP, that's for sure, and Demo Expert, because that gives you the increased fire chance. If you're going for Aki, you're not going to try to be the torpedo boat. If you want to be the torpedo boat, there's stuff like Arakaze, Kagero, which will be going through short. If you're going Aki, that means it's either your only choice or you want to be the gunboat. And this thing can be extremely nasty, extremely nasty gunboat. but it's very vulnerable because it's very big and sluggish. So try to pick your fights as best as you can. But if there's an option for you to 1v1 enemy destroyers, they are the ones that need to be afraid of you. Especially if they want to turn out. If they turn in, you can just keep piling that HE, for which you might need the IFHE, because these 100mm guns might lack some penetration. And the Demo Expert is there to increase the fire chance, which you lose like this. And of course you pile the flags. Concealment Expert, of course, is a must. And then, are you gonna go for RPF? Are you gonna invest a bit in AA? Are you gonna invest in something else? Do you want Adrenaline Rush? Do you want Expert Marksman? These things I'm gonna, let you decide on the very own destroyers that you pick. So, you have Harekaze, which is pretty similar, 1 turret less, but it is far, far more concealed.
2 months, go get them hands.
Thank you, Bengal. Thank you for 2 months, man. Akizuki is the premium version, which does not get double turrets in the front. It only gets 1 double turret, not 2, but you get 2 in the back, which have a pretty decent and good angles. Detection is not 6. We don't have... fuck it, we'll just put anything right now, just so we get a captain. Detection is 5.4, which is, I think, by far the best detection that you can have in this tier. I'm not sure if Kagero can have 5.6 as 5.4 as well. Do I have any captain that I can put right now? I guess I do not. Let's see. Tier 10. I have so many captains right now and nothing of use. Okay, just for the sake of it. Just for the sake of it. Let's see. Concealment 5.4. Yeah, so Kagero and Harekaze are going to be, in my opinion, 2 main IGN DD picks, because the Kagero can have, just like Harekaze, 5.4 detection, but this is a torp boat. This thing has 2x4 torpedo tubes. It has same amount of guns, but they do more damage, but they're not fast turning, and it's more sluggish version. The torpedoes are, of course, 10 km. This is because of the captain. It's 10 km, 67 knots. Pretty good. And when you go here, you can have torpedo reload booster, or you can have the smoke screen. If you go to Harekaze, this is, of course, Kagero is the standard version. You can have it in the tech tree. Everyone can have it. Harekaze is the premium version, something in between Kagero and Aki. And I think this little thing is pretty nasty. You can also have torpedo reload booster or the smoke screen, just like Kagero. I personally prefer smoke screen because even though that 5.4 detection, okay, now I switched captain again, but even though detection is 5.4, you really might find yourself in nasty situations here and there. You might get caught off guard, you might pop around the island, you will be needing the smoke screens, torpedo reload boosters. In majority of the cases when it comes to fighting in ranked battles, it's often a lot of concealment and you don't get that many opportunities to launch torpedoes against other capital ships. It's usually you're trying to torp the DDs, and these torpedoes really do hurt a lot. Anything they hit, especially destroyers. So having smoke screen, pretty nice. I personally use this hull, which gives you the Aki guns, because they're just fast firing, and the AP, if anyone gives you broadside, can be pretty nasty. So that pretty much covers the IGN destroyers. And then we have American. You have a Kid and a Benson. Now let's go with a Benson first. Benson is a standard pick, and it was my main thing for a long time. It's got 10 torpedoes that are 9.2 km, 55 knots, and those are the ones I'm using on all destroyers of this class. And don't ask me why not use shorter, faster range, because range, you need range. They're not too fast, but there's a lot of them, and if you catch people off guard, they can still do solid amount of damage. It's not much, but it does the trick. And most importantly, if you manage to score a flooding, that's it. You can have 4 guns with defensive AA. If you go for Sea Hull, you can have defensive AA, which is going to be very useful if there's going to be carriers. New patch arrived, so you can see now the bonuses. Or if you go B Hull, you lose the ability to have the defensive, and you get the ability to have speed boost, which I don't think is that useful. But you get 1 additional gun. With a B Hull, you have 5 guns, so that's basically 25% more, or 20% more firepower, depends on which numbers you look at. So instead of 4, you can have 5 guns, which is, I mean, if you meet a destroyer, if you're in a Benson that has 5 guns and you meet a Benson that's got 4 guns, you got a clear advantage. Like, clear advantage. But if there's carriers, he is in a lot of danger of being dropped by that carrier, and you are not. So bear in mind that throughout this whole review of the upcoming ships, I'm just going to tune down the music even a bit more. Throughout the whole review of these ships for ranked season is going to be depending on if there's going to be carriers or not. And if there's going to be carriers or not depends on people, of course. Are they going to be picking them or not? And so on. So Benson is a pretty okay pick. If there's carriers, you pick Sea Hull, 4 guns, defensive AA. You got enough torpedoes, you got enough power, you got very powerful smoke screen, you got very good concealment. It's 5.8, ignore this, it just doesn't have the captain. Very good maneuverability, of course. This is all without the captain. It's a pretty good pick. When it comes to Kid, there's a couple of options. Now this thing is a mixture between a couple of ships. This thing gets 5 guns no matter what you do. I don't think there's any option with a... Okay, UI, hello, wake up. UI? Really, game? Seriously? Wow, UI working as intended here. You don't have options for different hulls, so you naturally get 5 guns, which is Benson B hull. But you only get 1 torpedo launcher, and it's the same torpedoes as a Benson. So you're not exactly a torpedo boat, and these torpedoes are there purely self-defense. Like if it comes to that you're being rushed by a DD and it's a last resort, you're saving these torpedoes to save your butt or trade. The majority of the cases you will be using them like that. Of course you can fire them here and there occasionally to scare people off, make them uncomfortable and stuff like that, but don't expect to having torpedoes. This is primarily dual other destroyers. Why? Because you do get, just ignore the engine boost, that's just speed boost, engine boost, whatever, that's pretty freaking useless. Defensive AA, so you're safe from carriers no matter what. You have the American smokescreen, which is a pretty long and good smokescreen, but you also get a heal. You get a lot of HP, like a lot of HP, and 3 heals. And this is, I think, without Superintendent, yeah. If you put Superintendent here, you can pile this up to 4 heals, which I would recommend. Like, Kid is going to be one of my top picks, if not the top pick for the upcoming season. You can build it full AA spec. You can go BFT, AFT, manual, concealment, or you can drop a BFT and take survivability expert for more HP, which I do advise. And you can even maybe drop something else, such as AFT or manual, depending on your choice, and go for Superintendent. And then you can drop one of the primary 2s and go for another second, like Last Stand or Expert Marksman or whatever you feel like having. This thing can be pretty nasty, and this is going to be one of my top 2 picks for the upcoming ranked season, because pure and simple, it's got HP, it's got guns, it's got that heal, it has defensive A in case there's carriers, it's very maneuverable, it's very concealed, good smoke screen. This thing is just nasty. It's very nasty. Of course, you can make it, you can go for the RPF. There's many things you can do with this thing. You can make a DD hunter, you can make a carrier hunter, like plane hunter. You can go survivability build, you can go spammer. There's many things you can do with this destroyer. It's entirely up to your preference. Like, are you gonna focus on one or the other, or the third or the fourth option? There's many things you can do. Now, there's also my second best pick. They are basically the same, but they are... Which one of these two is gonna be your main pick, or which one I would advise to you, is pure and simple based on how aggressive do you like to play, how deeply stuck in do you like to put yourself, and do you want to be like more of a backup or more of a I'm going in, cover me. Low Yang, of course. This thing is absolutely a god when it comes to controlling cap zones. It's a Sea Hull Benson with one major difference. This is literally a Benson with Sea Hull with a bit weaker torpedoes. It's got 4 guns, same concealments, maneuverability. It's basically a Sea Hull Benson. Torpedoes hurt, I think, a bit less. Yeah, like 5k less. So you're not as deadly with torpedoes, but you can still cause those floodings, and you can still deal damage with it. One major difference between this and Aki is if there's no carriers, this thing can get a Hydro. And this Hydro is the most powerful Hydro in the entire game for its detection. Of course, you can always equip defensive AA, but then what's the point in getting yourself Low Yang when you can just have a Benson? Because Benson is in the tech tree, and this thing is a premium ship, so you need to actually invest money into getting it. But in case you don't have Benson and you have this and there's carriers, you can always switch. It gives you that option, and options are nice. Hydroacoustic Search, 5.43 km Hydro. There is nothing in the game in this tier that comes even close to this detection. You have the US Navy smokescreen and the guns and the HP and the maneuverability and the detection and everything, but you get this super big Hydro. For example, Z23 Hydro, let me just show you. Z23 Hydro is 4.44. You have the entire 1 kilometer minus, what, 100 meters, 10 meters, of advantage over Z23. And these German DDs are supposed to be, you know, Hydro ships. To make things even more hilarious, even the Z46, which is a tier 9, has the smaller Hydro than the Low Yang. The Low Yang is an absolute god. So if you do like to go for the caps, get that experience, push the enemy DDs out of the caps, control them, make sure that your team has proper scouting of torps, that you are not going to be contested by enemy destroyers that easily, that you're going to be able to provide information for your team, even smoked up, that you're going to be able to go in and win those caps. Low Yang is an absolute winner. If you want to be immediate support for Low Yangs, then Kid is the god, because Kid will be what's going to be firing on everything that Low Yang scouts. And when Low Yang goes dark in that smokescreen and Hydro, Kid is going to be exposed, and then Kid is going, US Navy Kid of course, is going to be shelled on, but he can take it because he's got a heal. This thing does not take punishment that well. It has less HP and a no heal, so you are going to be the front line. You're going to be literally the tip of the spear, but you have to be very careful. You have to make sure that you stop on time. If you smell that you are going to be exposed, that you're going to be detected any second, start prematurely slowing down so you can smoke up immediately and lose the less amount of HP, because every HP that you lose is irrecoverable. These things do tend to die easy under focused fire, and because you're tip of the spear, you will be the first spotted. Everything will be looking at your way. You will get blown up before you even get a chance to control those caps, so be careful. Magazine modification, I think I used this when I didn't have detonation flags, so naturally just use main armaments modification 1. Special Hydro mode if you have it, for prolonged usage of the Hydro. You can use the AA guns modification 2 to increase your AA a bit if there's carriers, or you can just go that your guns are more precise. It's up to you. I like to keep my AAs at least as functional as I can because of the catapult planes and stuff like that. Propulsion Mod 2 is probably the best module ever introduced in the game when it comes to destroyers, especially for these kind of destroyers that are going to get stuck in, going to be in the caps, and there's going to be torpedoes zooming left and right. You need this module, people. This is very nice, but this is just, you know, not negotiable. Take it. Don't ask me why, just take it. Because when you see a torpedo and you don't have time to accelerate, you just press it and it's not happening. You can see the torpedo slowly coming with your name on it and there's nothing you can do. You're trying to accelerate, but it's not happening. With this module, it's a lot easier. This module saved my life more times than I can count. And of course, concealment, that's a no-brainer. 9.2 km torpedoes, once again, not because of speed, because of range. You need range. 6.7 is just not gonna get you that range. Okay? What else we have? We didn't mention Ognavoy Kiev and Z-23. Okay, Z-23 is basically a German Tier 8 destroyer, but the problem with this destroyer is detection is slightly higher. Alright. Let me just switch it so I can show you. Running on fumes when it comes to complete retrainings here. Concealment is 6.2. This is 400 meters more than Benson and Loyang. 300 meters more than even the Aki. You will be detected before anything else, besides one DD, and that's Kiev. You really are gonna be struggling because you will get detected and you will not know what or where, and the enemy destroyers are gonna have like 300 to 400 meters more advantage over you to maneuver, to turn out, to stop and smoke, to do whatever. And you're gonna have to either start turning away immediately and you're gonna be shot on, and you're gonna lose a lot of HP without even seeing what's scouting you, and your team will never get a chance to even shoot back. So you will be losing HP for nothing, or you can just go in and hope that you catch eyes on whatever it is that you see, and then maybe your team gets to do something, but you will be at a great disadvantage. Of course, unlike everything else besides Loyang, you do have that Hydro, which is 4.44. It's not bad. In comparison to Loyang, is not good, but it's not bad. 4.44 is okay. Problem is, you get detected. You don't have a lot of. Where is it? Here, concealment. After firing from smoke, 3.4 km. If you use 150 mil guns, you are going to get detected at 3.4 after firing from the smoke, and your Hydro is 4.44, so you only have 1 kilometer of that extra space. And the Loyang, just to make it clear for you, 2.7 detection after firing main guns and smoke with 5.4. You have tremendous space to play with, tremendous place to play with as a Loyang, unlike with Z-23. And of course, Z-23 has to use 150 mil guns, because if you're using the 128 mil guns, you only get a turret with 1 gun in the front. So you're basically 1 gun short. Instead of having 5, you will have 4. Yes, they'll be more maneuverable. The BFT, AFT, and all that stuff is influencing them, unlike the 150s, but 1 gun less. So I don't know. Is it worth it? Of course, here, slot the Hydro modification if you have it. If not, then just go for damage control. Reduce those risks of fire and everything. Concealments are basically standard, and the captain is once again entirely up to you. This thing does get a bit more HP, so that's a good thing about it. This right now is Z52 captain that I'm using. But I guess you can be using the similar thing. Maybe instead of Demo Expert, you can go for Superintendent. And that would pretty much be the captain that you can use. Like, let's get this out of the way. Preventive Maintenance, Last Stand, Superintendent, HP buff, RPF, and concealment expert. If you don't know, if you're unsure, if you're not experienced enough, if you're like, oh my god, I've just spent I don't know how much time watching this review, but I still don't know what am I gonna go for my destroyer. That build is absolutely viable in my opinion in every single destroyer that I can think of. Maybe not the Kiev, because Kiev needs stuff like Demo Expert and maybe BFT, FT and stuff like that, but all the normal destroyers are gonna benefit from concealment, RPF so you know where the destroyers are, more HP because of survivability, Superintendent because of their concealment, their consumables, or if you're torpedo boat, just go for torpedo reload. Easy. If you're gunboat, go for Demo Expert. So tier 3 is where the things a bit divide. And tier 2, go for Last Stand. I don't care which destroyer you are, go for Last Stand. And then you can either go for this, or this. Maybe even this, but I don't think any tier 8 is going to be using this. So that's up to you. And tier 1, I always go for preventive maintenance on all my destroyers. Unless maybe Aki, Harekaze, maybe if you want to be playing with expert loader. Or if you're a bit less experienced, you can always go instead of preventive maintenance for priority targets, so you know how many targets are aiming at you. But one major thing, if you're spotted, everyone is aiming at you. So you don't really need this. When you see the exclamation mark that you're spotted, just count that every single enemy is aiming at you and you're gonna get shot. And act like it, it's gonna help you survive. And now it's Ognavoy and Kiev. Kiev I don't really want to discuss that much because it's a selfish type of play. It's loaded with guns. It's a nasty thing. It can kill DDs very nice. It's got a lot of torps, yes. It's 8 KM torpedoes, which are not that bad. Concealment is absolutely terrible. Yes, you can put a captain, so it's going to be a bit better, like 7 point something, but it's still atrocity. You will never be able to contest caps or anything like that. It's very fast. It's one of the fastest DDs in the game. True. It's got very good shell velocity. True. HP wise, even with the survivability expert, it's not that huge, and you can't heal. You're basically trying to pretend to be a cruiser, so I don't know, might as well take the cruiser. These things are going to be out of fight majority of the time. And if any destroyer wants to deny you, they will. They'll just keep you spotted, they'll even shoot you and disengage. You won't be able to return fire because they'll smoke. Stuff like that. Kiev, I would never actually recommend it. Ognavoy, on the other hand, not a really good gunboat because it only has 2 turrets. That's 4 guns. But this thing has been, I don't know how many patches ago, transformed into basically a torp boat. You have 10 km, 56 knot, 10 torpedoes. Good range, not a very good speed, but still better than Benson. And they reload, I believe, a lot faster than the Benson. 82 seconds, that's minute 22. And I don't know, my captain, how good it is. Yeah, torpedo armament expertise. It's not that bad. Even if you even slot the adrenaline rush and you lose a bit of that HP, you can get it down pretty fast. And it's not my primary pick. I would never personally go for Ognavoy because I think it's kind of weak. But this thing can really surprise you if you're a capital ship such as battleship and cruiser. It can really surprise you in how fast it can dish out torpedoes. You're like, okay, now I'm safe. And then you do something stupid and boom, another volley of torpedoes and you get like, wow, already? Especially if they play with stock modules. Like, I'm not sure, is it different hull? I think here you lose a bit of torpedoes. You get like 2 times 3 torpedo lancers, but they reload ridiculously fast. I think we covered all the oh, one last destroyer. Yes, the Pan-Asian one, Xiang Yang. Here it is. This thing is basically a Benson with deep water torpedoes. Now, the major difference in this between the US one and the Loyang is basically radar. You have an option to carry radar. And you still have good smoke, solid guns. Like, okay, the smoke is different. Smoke is even better. Because US smoke lasts very long, but once you deploy it, you're stuck with it for a few minutes, and then you need some time for it to recuperate. This thing lasts shorter, but just look at that. Smoke screen dispersion time, 70 seconds. Reload time 76 seconds. You're very, very small amount of time, very, very small amount of time are you without the smoke screen. So you can spam the smoke screens like mad, or you can go with radar if you don't need, if you want to be like a scout, if you want to be like a support destroyer, then you can go with radar, but then you're not going to be doing a lot of shooting, so that's up to you. And you can slot up this engine boost, which you can't even slot out if you wanted to. So you can defend yourself against planes. That's a bit of a bummer. It does not get the option to slot the extra radar range time, because that's only for tier 9 and 10. This is a tier 8. And those deep water torpedoes do hurt capital ships a lot more. You cannot hit DDs with it, so don't even waste your time. You can maybe spook them a bit, but most of them, especially in higher, higher ranks, higher tiers, they'll know. So don't waste it. You can shoot everything but destroyers, but when it comes to DD versus DD, you will have to rely on your radar or smoke and guns. So if you feel like you can handle it, the gun duels against other DDs, then sure, take it and bully the crap out of cruisers and battleships. And that's, I think, pretty much it when it comes to destroyers. My picks would definitely be Low Yang and the Kid. And then after that, if you don't have them, Hadakaze is going to be also very nice because it has 400 meters less detection and it can still be very dangerous with torpedoes and very dangerous with guns. So Kid, Hadakaze, and Low Yang, all premium ships as you can see. Secondary picks would kind of be the Xianyang and Benson, and then maybe Z23 and then Aki. Because Aki, pure and simple, because yes, it's very dangerous, but it's very sluggish, and it has a bit worse concealment and not a lot of torps. So it's very nasty. Don't get me wrong. When I meet them on the field, I'm pooping my pants. I'm thinking like, shit, I have to manage this properly, otherwise I'm gonna lose tremendous out of HP. Maybe I even die. Like when I see them, it's not like easy. No, it's not easy. It's very hard destroyer to deal with if you're committed, but that's the thing, you don't have to commit to it and stuff like that. So that was the as short as I could overall destroyer, and now we can just move to short and simple carriers. Shokaku, my favorite carrier of all times. Yes, this is the Halloween ugly camo. The major thing about this carrier is its setup. It can have 2-2-2 when it comes to planes, 2 fighters, 2 torpedo planes, 2 dive bombers, or 3 fighter planes. Is it this one? Yeah, 3 fighter planes, 1 torpedo, and 2 dive bombers. If you go for this one, you're going for more scouting and more air control, but far less chance of actually killing anything. You will have a very, very small chance of killing anything, especially destroyers. If you go for 2-2-2, then you're more relying on your own skill and the backup of your team if the enemy carrier is 3-1-2, but you have an absolute chance of killing destroyers and everything else. Shokaku would be my pick. I think it's a good carrier. Lexington would not be my pick. I would definitely not advise people to go with Lexington because this thing has one major problem. It only has 1 flight control and it's 1-1-2. Yes, those dive bombers can cause tremendous damage with if they're AP, and those torpedo planes can, if you manage them correctly, can be okay, but it's only 1 fighter. You will get completely outplayed and shut down by 2-2-2 Shokaku players, which are decent, and 3-1-2 Shokaku. It will completely shut you down. This I would not recommend. Do not go for Lexingtons. You will be a liability to your team unless you end up against another Lexington, then you're fine. And then there's the third one, which might be the biggest problem of this rank season for the carrier players, and that's the Enterprise. This thing gets everything. This thing gets 2-2-2 US planes. So you get more torpedo planes, more dive bombers. You can choose between AP and HE, and you get fighters. And you get a lot of fighters, so you can outplay either Lexington is easy no matter what, and you can even outplay the Shokaku, because you just get so many of them. So Enterprise and Shokaku would be my top picks. And are you going to go for 3-1-2 or 2-2-2 is completely up to you and your skill, but I don't know. It has its pluses and its minuses. And of course, I forgot there's Graf Zeppelin, but I would not advise that because it's only, I think, like 203, and as much as they can maybe cause some damage, they will run out of fighter planes ridiculously fast, and you'll be a liability to your team. I'm not in the loop right now. I'm not sure what's the latest of the Graf Zeppelin that anyone has. I know that everybody who bought it was 203, and then a billion test versions. But whatever they do with the Graf Zeppelin, the main idea is super light on fighters, super heavy on strike. Once you lose those fighters, and you will lose the fighters very fast, you're out of the game. And let's move on to the battleships. Tier 8 battleships. Amagi, very good. Fast, maneuverable, short on range, a bit less than 20 km, but a lot of guns. They can do a lot of damage. It's got a good torpedo belt. It's pretty fast, relatively maneuverable, solid armor. It's a good ship. It's a good ship. Unless you get trolled by the RNG, yeah. If there's carriers, might want to be careful. This thing does not defend itself very good. Then there's its like a smaller brother. It's not as precise, not as armored, but it can definitely hold its ground when it comes to AA defense, even without the captain. So just imagine how fast that can go. NC, if you don't like sailing too much and you just want to be, you know, forward, backward, heavy AA thing, easy. Graf Zeppelin 203 or 121. Yeah, however you go, you're gonna be light on fighters. So I'm not sure I would recommend it, especially with Enterprise and 312 Shokakus running around. Pretty solid ship, hard hitting shotgun, good bow armor, good AA. Yeah, NC. It's just an NC. Alabama, pretty similar to the NC, just a bit. Better torpedo protection, less precise guns, slightly different AA, stuff like that. Tirpitz, my favorite ship in the game, probably. You'll have to be careful how you play these Tirpitz. If there's gonna be carriers, you might want to switch from secondary spec to just AA spec survivability. This is my randoms battle. Preventive maintenance to lose as less as you can of those secondaries and stuff. 2 fighters instead of 1. Adrenaline rush, BFT, AFT, manual AA, manual secondaries. That's it. 19-point captain. So I'm putting everything into dishing out pain and making them pay even more for losing every bit of my HP. You can notice that I don't have concealment, I don't have survivability build, I don't have superintended. I do not intend to live too long. Now that you might want to reconsider this for the rank season. For the rank season, you might want to focus more on surviving and a bit on AA and screw the secondaries. I'm not sure, but this is entirely up to how many carriers there are gonna be. But it's still a solid ship. I mean, when it comes to direct brawls between battleships, you get this thing into close quarters, you are most likely going to win. It's got a tremendous armor, powerful guns, which are not exactly very precise, but if you can make them work, they're good enough. Torpedoes, secondaries, AA, hard-hitting citadels, fast, maneuverable. I love this thing. Bismarck is basically the same thing with slight differences. Yes, this is that nasty camo. This thing doesn't get torpedoes, but it gets hydro, which can be very useful if you're against a lot of destroyers. And I do suspect there's going to be a lot of destroyers. So, I guess so. Monarch is not bad, but I wouldn't recommend it. I mean, there's just better things to take. It's got solid HE, solid AP, solid in everything, but not extremely good in anything. So, Richelieu is pretty trolly. It's a good ship, but these guns can be super trolly. You never have to expose your broadside. All your AA and secondaries are mounted in the back, which is a bit controversial because it's very questionable how much these secondaries are going to be able to work. But the AA is going to stay protected if you bow in, unless they lob the most of the stuff there. Because the majority of the AA is right here. Here, 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 and then you have some here and here. It's a fast, bow-in, AP, and durable monster, but HE does a lot of damage to the French. And it's got a good AA, but I don't know. If you can make the guns work, I guess you could give it a try. And then there's Roma, which I was at first very much in love with, but this thing just does... It really lacks the range. It really forces it to go a bit too deep. And these guns are very powerful, but extreme shotguns. So I would not exactly recommend it. That's it when it comes to battleships, and now there's only cruisers left. And there's been slight changes to the cruisers. Takao and Atago have a lot of HP, have a lot of torpedoes, have very good guns, but they're floating citadels. You do not want to get close with these things because they can get citadels from the front, and that can be very, very, very dangerous. And if you give the side, you can kiss your ass goodbye. Why I would go for them is because their guns are pretty good, slow reloading, but they do a lot of damage and have a good fire chance. It's got a good concealment. Like, look at that. Bloody Destroyer. Very good concealment, loaded with torpedoes. Even the Takao one is just without the camo. You don't have -3 and -4. But you have to be careful. And one good thing about these ships is they're one of the rare things that actually get heals. I say one of the rare things because they're no longer the only ones. Mogami is something that can dish out a heck ton of pain, especially to DDs with these 155mm guns. It can dish out a lot of pain, but it can't take anything. Just look at this thing. Look at this. It's begging to get citadels. I used to be in love with this ship, not anymore. You can also equip 203s, but excuse me. I don't know. I think it's just it has a potential to do a lot of damage. It also has a potential to get put out of the fight super easy, super fast. New Orleans is, I don't know, powerful guns. Definitely not my favorite. I just don't like this concept of ship. US cruisers, just totally not my thing. But very powerful guns, good AA, and it has that radar. Now radars are gonna be very valuable because if all my previous experience in playing ranked clan battles and all this stuff, there's always, especially ranked, I'm talking about ranked, screw the clan. When you talk about ranked, there's always a lot of battleships and a lot of DDs. It's one of those things usually have top numbers. So not a lot of cruisers and usually not that many carriers. Hecko, welcome to the team, man. Much appreciated. Thank you. So the few cruisers that are actually going to be in the game, you want them to be as useful as they can be. And if there's going to be a lot of destroyers, you're going to need that, you know, the radars. So it depends. It depends. But radar is always useful. As much as I don't like this ship, and tier 8 cruisers, majority of them, it's a radar. If you can play radar cruiser, just do it. Of course, there's also the Chapayev, which has smaller caliber guns, much bigger range. These are all Halloween camos, by the way. Much bigger range, a lot more guns, faster firing, smaller caliber. It's got shorter radar, but longer. It's not like New Orleans. New Orleans has... let me check. 9 km. And the, where is it? The Chapayev has 11.7 km. Of course, this one lasts 20 seconds and the New Orleans one lasts 30 seconds. So, shorter, longer range makes you stay a bit safer, but New Orleans has to, you know, have to commit a bit more, but it lasts longer. And there's also Edinburgh. Edinburgh can also have radar or smoke screen. I don't see a lot of point in bringing in smoke screen Edinburgh, because why? But a radar one can be just as dangerous as the Chapayev or the New Orleans. But if you're gonna bring a radar cruiser, I don't know, might as well bring Chapayev or New Orleans and not this thing, because this thing gets obliterated pretty easy. There's Martel, which is very light cruiser, very fast, very maneuverable, very nasty HE spamming guns. APs can work as well, but if you're not that experienced, you can get caught and you can get obliterated. You don't get a lot of... Actually, you get a lot of HP, but... I don't know, these cruisers with no heal in tier 8, that it's so easy to punish them. 1 or 2 mistakes and you're done. What else we got? We got a Kutuzov, which is basically Chapayev without the radar, but a smoke screen. And that thing can be very dangerous. Of course, ever since they nerfed the smoke, when they introduced the new smoke, you have to be very careful. Because 7.7, I believe, is the concealment. Yeah, detectability after firing main guns in smoke is 7.7. You really can't afford yourself to be close. Thank you, Atlanta. Yes, it is. It is an amazing game. You really can't afford yourself to get spotted because you're, just like a Kutuzov, very light and very easily put out of commission, of action, of whatever. It's got a lot of armor. I mean, sorry, not a lot of armor. A lot of HP, but that gets taken down more easier than you can think, especially those citadels. But it can be very dangerous. It's got huge range. It's got its own self-sustaining smoke screens. And if you can use a bit of concealment from your smoke screens and islands, you can really dish out a lot of pain. So I guess the Kutuzov is an okay pick, but you have to be careful not to get too close. Chapayev and New Orleans are because of radars. I can never say no, and I can never say go for it, because cruisers in these tiers generally get obliterated very easily. But if you do know how to manage your cruiser properly, those radars can be very, very helpful to deny capping and ensure your team has an advantage over the enemy team. Atago and Takao because of heal. If you can sustain long enough, you can probably cause a lot of problems to the enemy team, so that's fine. And I left the the Hipper and the Prince Eugen for last too, because I haven't played them yet since they have been changed. The Prince Eugen, the Hipper has been buffed a bit. I think it's reload and gun traverse and speed and maneuverability, stuff like that. So this thing is probably a bit better, but I still am not sure I would recommend it. I don't know if I can recommend. But Prince Eugen, on the other hand, this thing is now maybe a valuable pick. I haven't tried it yet, but the couple of times I played this ship, it can be pretty nasty. But the bigger difference from it now, instead of all the other cruisers, which is usually what scares me the most, is no heals. But now this thing got a heal. So you have a defensive AA or the Hydro. If there's no carriers, you can slot Hydro. It's a very powerful Hydro. 5.58 detection. That's pretty damn good. You can slot Catapult Fighter, extra scouting, or protection versus planes. It has a pretty nasty AA if you want to go for it. Look at that. And it has a heal! So now you're gonna have a tier 8 German cruiser with 203mm guns, torpedoes, Hydro, solid armor, and a heal. You can sustain a lot more. So I think this thing might actually become a viable option. 45,000 HP with heals. I'm gonna be playing this thing to test it, but I think I can give you a pretty safe yes for this. Pure and simple, the same way that the Atagos and Takao are gonna be useful. You know, if you can play it properly, you can sustain long enough, you can cause a lot of problems. So in the same way that I'm saying yes to Atago and Takao, I'm saying yes to Prince Eugen and the radars. Everything else is very niche, and you have to find your way. Of course, I primarily won't be playing cruisers this rank season. I just don't like the idea of getting obliterated so easy by pretty much anything. Higher tier cruisers are a bit different, because there's a lot. They have heals, they have sustainability. Tier 8s, not that much, but few do have. I do realize this is taking a lot of time, but this is tier 8s. And this is what this is what every single one of you is going to be playing when the season starts. You will be playing tier 8s, it doesn't matter where you ended the previous season. Whichever rank you start, it's going to be above rank 10, so you will be playing tier 8. And I do realize, if especially we consider the information provided by Wargaming, that a lot of people never even pass rank 10. So good luck to all of you to reach tier 10. Sorry, rank 10. But once you reach rank 10, the game completely shifts and it's no longer tier 8, it's now tier 10. So we have to do a review on that. Now, few things here. When it comes to tier 10 battleships, let's get that straight out of the way. When it comes to tier 10 battleships, we have Yamato, very powerful guns, a lot of HP, good torpedo protection, good belt torpedo protection, yeah. Lousy AA, and not that maneuverable. But yes. Montana, huge AA, a lot of guns, lower caliber, so you kind of have to hope for more broadsides than usual and stuff like that. Definitely need to move, and also has a lot of HP. Yes. Kurfürst, I don't know. It doesn't take torpedoes that well, and there's way too many things in tier 10 that have torpedoes, and a lot of torpedoes, and they hurt a lot. So yes, you have a hydro, but you're not gonna have a hydro all the time. And some of those torpedoes are gonna be just, you're not gonna be able to dodge them because you're too big, too sluggish. You're just such a platform. You're an island. You're not a target, you're an island. So I don't know, I've heard a lot of people having success with it. If you think you can handle it, good luck. I wouldn't exactly be recommending it. And did I miss something? A Conqueror? I don't know. Conqueror is just a noob-friendly thing. It just blows away all... It just sets people on fire, pisses them off. It has that massive heal. It just absolutely annihilates secondaries and AAs. It's got a lot of guns. It's got huge range. I mean, it's a yes. I can recommend this thing to be played, but be careful, because under focused fire, this thing melts pretty fast. And if you can't disengage and you come under focused fire, you're gonna go down. But still a very nasty thing to deal with. The problem is this thing has a lot of range, so a lot of people will be staying too far in the back, not to get overexposed, not to get sunk, and they're gonna be fucking useless to their teams. You need a battleship that can push when it comes to, when you need it. It needs that sustainability. This thing does not have a lot of sustainability besides a massive heal. And a lot of people, let's face it, are never going to even consider shooting AP. They're just going to be spamming HE all the time. So they're going to miss those viable broadsiding opportunities and stuff like that. And it doesn't take torpedoes very well. I don't know. If you're going to play this, it's a niche ship. I would recommend Montana and a Yamato. Kurfürst, not really. Conqueror, I don't know. It's a noob-friendly thing, so give it a try if you want to. But I think would be much better. What the hell was that? I think would be much better without this ship. When it comes to cruisers, Zal, very dangerous ship, very low detection, self-sustaining AA, and torps for self-defense, big-ass guns. I mean, it's a good ship. Hindenburg, my all-time favorite. It's just, there's nothing like this. It's got torpedoes, it's got AA, it's got guns, it's got reload, it's got HP, it's got maneuverability. It's a very good ship. It can sustain a lot. I love this thing. But neither of these things have radars. There's a Minotaur which can have smokescreen or radar. Smokescreen, I don't know. Do you really want to play from rank 10 to rank 1 in a smokescreen where pretty much everyone is gonna know how to shoot in smokescreens and devastate you? I don't know, I wouldn't advise it. If you go for radar Minotaur, you won't be doing a lot of shoot, but you will be being shot upon a lot. So I wouldn't actually recommend it, but it's up to you. When it comes to radar, I think it's just gonna be Moskva and Des Moines. This thing is an AA monster with overpowered as hell. It's radar that lasts almost a minute, something like 56 seconds. And the Moskva is just a battleship, something in between. And it's got a longer, shorter range radar, so very nasty guns, very dangerous. It can even Citadel battleships easy. So yeah, Moskva and Des Moines are gonna be advisable depending on how many carriers there are. And they're very dangerous to destroyers. Zao and Hindenburg because they're just such a great ship. Henry, I wouldn't advise that much. It's just... it's missing something. I don't think this thing is gonna be very useful to the team. Minotaur, I don't think is gonna be that useful to the team unless you're some ninja and you can do radars very good. One sec. And that's pretty much it. And we skipped Republic. Yeah, the chat is going mad. Oh, you skipped Republic. Well, I can't. I stopped even trying to make Republic work for myself. It's just that for me it doesn't work. Those guns are just so bad. They are so imprecise that you literally, I personally can't hit shit with it. Not because I can't aim, it's just that the dispersion is going all over the place and it's so frustrating and infuriating for me that I stay away from this ship. Everything else is good about this ship. It doesn't have armor, but it's very fast, very maneuverable, extremely good gun angles, extremely good reload. It can have very good AA. HPs, and you pretty much lose 15-20k the first time something hits you, so it doesn't have a lot of HP and doesn't have a lot of armor. But I would actually go for this ship, and I would like it if those guns would work. But for me personally, they just don't work. And they are hard-hitting guns, they're 431 mils. So if you can make Republic work, definitely give it a go. But if you're like me and those guns are just like, no, you and me, merde, no, then just stay away from it. And last are the carriers. It's... oh, shit, I just realized. Oh, fuck, I completely forgot about carriers and destroyers. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Carriers... Midway has been nerfed. This is the patch day. The Midway has been nerfed. The Midway has just lost a lot of planes. They have been nerfing this thing for a long time now. And... they finally just nerfed it even more. It no longer has 136 planes, it's got 116. They didn't nerf it to 96, thank God. So, in a long run, I don't know how long can you actually stay in the game with this amount of planes. I haven't tried it, but in heavy tier 8, tier 10 games, when everything is loaded with AA, and there's a lot of ships, you usually run out of planes. Now, of course, there's not going to be 12 on 12. There's going to be less people here, so yeah, maybe you're not going to struggle with it that much. But these planes are just lower tiers than they should be. It's like tier 9, tier 10, and tier 10. But torpedo planes just die too easy because they're tier 8. Fighters are tier 9, and you have dive bombers, of course, H or AP when it comes to, I think, yeah, I mean... I would say you can at least control the air, but then the Wargaming decided that they're gonna implement Haku 332. So you can have a stock Haku, which is 232, which is not very strong in the air, but still has a lot of strike potential. You can have 422, which is gonna be an absolute air dominance. If you can control that. Trust me, I tried, it's not that easy. But you're an absolute god, dominator, whatever, in Sky, if you can control that properly. But you still have 2 torpedo squadrons and 2 dive bomber squadrons, But when there's heavy AA, you're gonna lose at least half of those things before even making successful drops, so you're not gonna have that big of an impact when it comes to damage. But at least you can save your fleet, scout, and stuff like that. And then there's the best possible thing they could have introduced. You no longer have 2-3-3, you have 3-3-2. You lose 1 dive bomber squadron, which is really not a big deal. 10 dive bombers is more than enough to cause 1 fire, or 2, which is all you need. You still have 3 torpedo squadrons, which is tremendous firepower, and you no longer have to worry about Midway that much. You have 3 fighter squadrons. Now, I've never controlled 3 fighter squadrons in IGN fighters, and it's been too long since I ever even tried a fighter Midway, which is no longer even available, which was 302. So I personally, like majority of you, will need a lot of practice with this, so I can't just go ahead and say, yeah, use it, because my fingers are used to 222 or 233, not 332. But I think if you can manage this, you're gonna be able to dominate Midway, no problem. So Haku is definitely gonna be number 1 pick for people who are able to adapt quickly, and then the Midway. And the last are destroyers. Just like, yeah, I also need to put tier 10. Just like tier 8, gearing. It has good torpedoes, long range. It's 16.5 km torpedoes, that are pretty fast. Sorry, not the guns, torpedoes. 66 knot torpedoes, 16.5, 10 of them. That's more than you need. You can even put the torpedo acceleration booster if you want on it. That's really more than you need. And you can boost the reload. Guns are pretty good. You got 6 of them. Typical American shell velocity, not that great, but fast firing, fast rotating. It's relatively small. I mean, it's for a tier 10. Good concealment, 5.9. Relatively good maneuverability and stuff. American smokescreen, you can have a defensive AA. Modules, which I'm using right now, and the captain that I'm using right now. RPF, concealment, torpedo reload booster, HP buff, adrenaline rush, last stand, prevent the maintenance. Like I said, pretty standard. This, and this is pretty standard. And then the second, third is where you can play a bit with the rest of the things. So gearing would be probably my all-around best pick, because it's pretty good in everything. Second one would be Yu Yang, because it's very similar to gearing with much more useful smoke screens. Like we said, those Pan-Asian destroyers get a lot more smoke screens. Get a lot more smoke screens, which can be used much more frequently, so you can do a lot more aggressive gameplays. You don't have defensive AA, so if there's carriers, you're in big trouble. Of course, you can slot, instead of smoke screens, if you go for radar, which is where this thing can also be very nasty, you can slot the extra radar. So you have like 28 seconds, 7.5 km radar, which can be pretty nasty if you're not the only destroyer to, support someone. The captain for this is the same as the Low Yang, which I'll show you one more time at the end. Z52 also is a bit bigger and sluggish, more sluggish. It's 6.1 detection. I don't have a captain on it right now because I swapped it to Z23. 6.1 detection, which is lousier than everything else. 8 torpedoes, which have a range of 10.5 km, 69 knots. Pretty fast, solid amount. They don't do that much damage. I mean, it's an okay torpedo boat, but you're not going to be playing it as torpedo boat. You're going to be playing it for one primary purpose, and that's hydro. You want to have this thing. I mean, you must have it. It's a 5.88, basically 5.9 km hydro. So you get detected at 6.1, you can immediately start dropping speed and turn on the hydro and the smoke screen, and you will probably catch whatever is coming your way, because it won't have enough time to disengage. Unless you're catching someone. In 90% of cases, if you get spotted and you trigger the hydro, you're gonna see whatever is spotting you in the next couple of seconds. And you have a massive advantage over that. This is the most powerful hydro in the game. Yeah, that's for Z52. So Gearing, Yu Yang, Z52 I can advise. Grozavoy, not that much. It's a good AA platform, good guns, but it just takes massive amount of damage. And those torpedoes are there, you know, 10 km, 65 knots, but they reload forever. They really reload forever. They're good torps, but they reload for far too long. And you're primarily going to be using this if there's a lot of carriers, so... Kaba I would not advise because it's like Kiev, very selfish gameplay. With one major difference, it's selfish and it does not help a team a lot, and you have not a lot of influence on how the game is going to develop. But you have heals, so you can, unlike Kiev, you can sustain a lot. But you're going to make your team play 6 versus 7, and you're just going to annoy the crap out of people. Unless the game lasts for 20 minutes and then you're gonna rack up 200,000-300,000 damage and then maybe that counts for something. But I would not advise it. And then there is the last thing that I left for the last of the last. I don't have the captain on it right now because I transferred to Hadakaze. But this thing, I actually think I have 2. Yeah, I have 1 spare. For some reason I have 2 identical captains. Shima has been buffed. Shima received a detectability buff. It's now no longer 5.8, 5.9. It's 5.6. So you have 300 meters extra space to work with. Now that does not mean a lot when it comes to torping enemy ships, because 300 meters really makes no difference. You still have 15 crappy torpedoes, which do tremendous amount of damage, and you have a lot of them, and you can reload them so-so. When it comes to speed, but their detection hasn't changed. They're still detected from miles away, and unless people are completely caught off guard, it's going to be very hard to do something useful with these torpedoes if people are on the move. If people are campy, okay. But 5.6 detection puts this thing back into action. This thing can now be used as a scout boat, because you will no longer meet Gearing and Yu Yang in your face and be like, ah, shit, again! And lose 10k, 15k, 5k, doesn't matter, depending on how capable the enemy DDs are. You're gonna lose tremendous amount of HP before you even have a chance to react. And you can't really duel them. These guns are good, but they're slow turning and slow reloading guns. So this detection is gonna give you the upper hand, and it might put this destroyer back in action. I would advise you to try it, because that detection is gonna give you the upper hand, and it's gonna put the Gearing and Yu Yang on the back foot straight from the get-go, which might give you a chance. When it comes to the ship build, it's like concealment. Of course, is a must. Torpedo reload, extra HP, last stand is a must, and then depending on which torpstar you're gonna use, you can play with torpedo acceleration booster or not. It's really up to you. You're gonna use 20 km, 16 km, 12 km, 9.6 km, 8 km. You're gonna go crazy with 6.4 km. It really depends upon your choice. But my top picks would be Gearing, Yu Yang, Z52 when it comes to DDs. When it comes to battleships, it would be Yamato and Montana. When it comes to cruisers, it really depends. Do you want to play damage and hide and seek, or do you want to play radar? So it's like Des Moines, Moskva, Zao, Hindenburg. I would definitely go for Haku over Midway if you're capable. And when it comes to tier 8s, I would go for Kid, Loyang, and Hadakaze. Those would be my main picks. One last show of the captain. Preventive maintenance, adrenaline rush, last stand, survivability expert for extra HP, superintendent for smokes, hard Joe's radars, whatever you're using. RPF, you know, it's gonna give you a better chance to know where you can stay safe from the incoming torpedoes or whatever, where you can expect that the enemy DD is going. And concealment. This is legit captain build for majority, not to say all, but for majority of of DDs. You can literally take this and be safe that your build is okay and functional. You can play and tweak this depending on what you like. Do you want to invest more in AA? Do you want to invest more in torpedo reload? Do you want to invest more in damage output? Like a demo expert, IFHE, a BFTFT manual, this. Do you need this? Do you want this for better support? Do you need this? But that's pretty much it. The rank season, the new rank season on the EU server at least starts in 16 hours, which is tomorrow. Around whatever, probably early in the morning, and then it's gonna be open for like a month and a half or something like that. Like I said, people that haven't played or haven't ranked out anything yet are gonna start from rank 23 again, I think, and up till rank 10 you will be playing with tier 8. When you rank to tier 10, you need a tier 10, so if you don't have it, and some people have been complaining that they don't have it, unfortunately Wargaming will not be introducing any ranked ships like they did with clan battles. You will just have to research it. You have about a month, let's say safely about a month to do it, to get it, and then you will have something like half a month left to grind from tier 10 to tier 1, from rank 10 to rank 1. Once you hit rank 10, you're going to tier 10 all the way to rank 2, and then in rank 2, once you get the rank 1, you're going back to tier 7, but nobody even actually plays that. For all of you who are interested in the free captain resets, because of the introducing changes and everything, it's free. I don't know how long they will be free, but I presume for a few days, weeks, months, I'm not sure. Make sure you use them if you need them. I think they're basically free on every single captain, on every single ship, and I'm just picking the ships that don't have captains. Yeah, if you don't have this yet, and you fulfilled all the necessary requirements, which I think was connected to the rank season, do not despair, give it some time. Because Wargaming is working on it, and they're doing it in batches, so not everyone is going to have it straight from the get-go. I hope this was very useful to you, at least to some degree, to give you a better understanding or a better idea. I realize it took a lot of time, but I like to go at least in a bit of details. And we had to cover both tier 8 and tier 10. Good luck to you all out there in the upcoming rank season. And I wish you all the best, and I hope you do good. And I'll see you on the battlefield, I guess.